Reinders is being criticized by a bunch of people right now. But why? I'm not trying to be snide or rude or whatever. I'm asking genuinely. Why? With the singular exception of Wolves, Tijani was the engine in our midfield for every game he's played so far. And against Wolves, everyone agreed, almost everyone agreed, Tijani looked incredible. But I think people placed an expectation on Tijani based on that game. This is the internet, so I must preface and be precise with my wording. I am not making excuses for Tijani. Excuses are something you need when you do something poorly. I do not think Tijani was poor. Full stop. What I am saying is not that an expectation of quality was placed, but an expectation of what? Against a weaker team like Wolves, who will defend more and has no great offensive outlets, your midfielders must contribute more to the attack. Otherwise, you probably won't score. And your midfielders also just have more freedom to go up the pitch, because Wolves will sit deeper and not go up as much themselves. Add on to this that Bernardo Silva started in midfield, and Tijani is the sole midfield creator of the team. But that's not how we are going to play against big teams like Spurs. Tijani was brilliant in his role against Wolves. I think most of us agree on that. But that was not his usual role. So rather than looking at the quality Tijani plays at, people look at how well he can emulate that Wolves game. He won't emulate the Wolves game. We have better creators than Tijani. And that is fine. Reinders serves a different role. And I think he does it brilliantly. Am I saying he has been world class? Am I saying he has been man of the match in any game, really? Or that he has made no mistakes? No, no, and no. But let's actually look at the games Tijani has played so far. We will skip Wolves, as I think, again, to repeat myself, most people agree in that game he was good. Spurs, Man City losing 2-0 to Tottenham at the Etihad. I actually think Tijani was one of our better players, if not our best player, on that pitch. The goals we conceded were due to a poor defense, just balls just going through our back four without even contention. You just evade the midfield entirely. And then midfielders become a bit useless when you don't have to address the midfield. You can just play a ball over the top. I think we would have won with Aït-Nouri though, because we played a dominant performance in that Tottenham game. When Aït-Nouri was on, when they played balls over the top, they weren't getting through. Not as easily, at least. So I think the fault in the Tottenham game is not Tijani, but it's Pep's ability to adapt in that moment to Aït-Nouri coming off injured. He should have played O'Reilly, and to Pep's credit, he gets later on. Instead, he played Aki. I think that was a mistake. I don't think that is Tijani's fault. We had control over the ball. That is Tijani's work. We had a few chances, not a lot, but we had a few chances. Tijani helped create them. We were mostly stable, again, except for when balls came over the top. But Tijani can't do the job of the back four and midfield on his own. Against Tottenham, Tijani was probably one of our best players. Then we go on to 2-1 against Brighton, another loss. We've had a few already this season. That is a poor game. He made a lot of sloppy mistakes, but that's just one game. And I think that's the only game where he was really poor. And not to make excuses, but just to explain, he played that game with Rodri and Bernardo Silva. I'm not saying either of them are bad players, but Rodri was only just back from injury, and he looked dead tired after 30 minutes of playing. Bernardo Silva, he looked dead tired after 45-50 minutes of playing. So Tijani was not only being the engine in midfield anyhow, He was now also picking up extra work from Rodri, who was tired after 30 minutes, and from Bernardo Silva, who was tired after one half of football. So he was having to do the entire midfield job on his own. And I don't think it's fair to criticize him on exclusively this game, because he played poorly in that one game where he was pretty much doing a 1v3 in midfield. Again, was he poor? Yes. Is it entirely his fault? No. You need to draw a distinction there. Look at Matheus Nunes, the handball in the Brighton game. That is solely Matheus Nunes' his fault. No formation, no players around him being slow or tired made Matheus Nunes lift his arm, concede that penalty. That is exclusively on Matheus Nunes. For Tijani, not the same scenario, because he was just running around on midfield trying to do three people's job. I don't think the blame lies exclusively with him. With that being said, it's still fair to say he did play that game poorly. But that's one game. Then the next game is the 3-0 derby win. Hold that. Grimsby Town's bitches. He was okay. I'm not gonna gas him up here. He was Rodri's legs. He was running. He made a few mistakes. Rodri looked a lot more fit in the Man United game. So when Rodri looked more fit and Tijani still the legs, but not having to do Rodri's defensive job on his own, they both looked a lot more solid, didn't they? He played okay, did not stand out for me. Neither was the competition great, but that's fine. Just an okay, solid game when you aren't called upon. Then, Man City 2-0 against Napoli. Once again, I think he was just okay. He did not do anything to stand out, but he didn't have to. When you're 1-0 up, you don't want your 8-6, whatever you call him, doing too much. He made some mistakes, again, as in every game, but he played mostly well. We controlled the ball. Even before Napoli went down to 10 men, we were dominant. They only had one chance all game. Ball was going into the box. He played some nice passes. He helped link up that defense and attacking midfield, wingers, striker, Haaland. Mostly just getting balls into Foden, really. But still, he did that job pretty well. Not great, but I think he played solid, played just what was asked of him. Then we go on to the last game that I care about. I don't really care about Carabao Cup games against Huddersfield. No offense. Arsenal 1-1 against Man City. You can see a different playstyle again. And with a different playstyle comes a different role. Tijani was holding the midfield very well. Eventually it got down to a 1v3 in midfield when Rodri slowed down. And you can't win a 1v3, you just can't against top midfielders like Arsenal's. But I do think in the first half, in fact I don't think, I know for a fact, Tijani held down that midfield, got the ball forward a few times, made sure we didn't lose the ball too much, but that all went out of the window in the second half when Husnov came off injured. And now you just change the way you play, you're a lot more counter-attacking, you're just pressed into your box. In this role, Tijani did well as well. He did good being in the box for a large portion of the game. I believe he is the player that got the ball into Haaland for that chance that he really should have put to Foden, but that's not an argument entirely. Tijani was arguably our best outfield player in that Arsenal game. I don't think that anyone else did as much in midfield as Tijani did. So, in conclusion, Tijani has had some poor moments, absolutely. He's not been great. Let's not pretend he's been great. But to pretend he's been bad is just lying. He started out much better than Pottery, Rodrizontal did, and he's our Ballon d'Or winner. That guy had a much worse start. And again, it is not an excuse, to remind you. And neither is it a prediction. Tijani will never reach Rodri's level. I can confidently say that. But that does not mean that he's been poor, which I don't think he has been. And it doesn't mean that just because he didn't play every game the exact same way, that he did against Wolves that he's been poor. He's going to be a good player, but he's not going to be a player that's going to be creating a lot. He's going to link up our defense and our midfield. And then midfield is going to get linked up to attack through him, Foden, Rodri, whoever else. Pretty much all our midfielders can do that role, which is great. Which means he doesn't have to do it as much. He doesn't have to link up from midfield to attack a lot. Because Cherky can do that when he's fit. Foden, Rodri, Nico Gonzalez can all do that. Even Doku recently looking great and just coming down, receiving the ball and taking it up. And just all the other things he's been doing great recently. But when we're actually looking at the role Tijani has played, I think he's been okay. 7 out of 10. For Man City, you need to be an 8 out of 10. Let's be honest. To start at Man City, you need to be either an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10 at least. But we're talking about players who have been at Man City for years. We talk about Pep's system. How long did it take Gundogan, Rodri, to adapt to these systems? And now we look at Tijani. What are we? 2 months in? 1.5 months, really. And we're turning up our nose and we say, not good enough, mate. Sure. By Man City standards, not good enough. But I don't think he's been bad. I don't think he has been bad. And I do think he can get better, and he will get better. And listen, if by next season he is not playing at the level that maybe he should be playing at, or Pep Guardiola doesn't think he can reach that level, by all means, sell him. If someone is not good enough, sell him. No excuses. But I do think he's good enough. So that's just a short video. I didn't want to make this into a stream because not enough stuff to talk about really to make it a stream. I'll round it up there. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, helps out a ton. Check out my streams, by the way. I almost never do videos. I almost exclusively do streams. So go check out my streams where I talk a lot more on topics like this. Just Man City content really. And watch longs for those who care. But yeah, I'll round up there. Thank you for watching and au revoir.